What is up, good people? Welcome. This is Sell with Sap. I'm here with a dear friend of mine, Andrew Bershtein. He's a real estate attorney. We're at his friend Marco's spot here in Main Street in Hackensack called Coffee Break. It's a good Italian coffee spot. We got some cappuccinos in front of us here. We're going to come at you with a little bit of, I'm going to let Andrew talk a little bit about himself and what he does. And why his role in real estate is important, as well as cover some things that are currently happening in the market. And then, Andrew will tell us a little bit about his business and, what keeps him going, especially when, we have different styles of political injection happening, and it can create uncertainties in the economy. And so how do we stay focused on the goal and get to the finish line, as they say. So thanks, Andrew, for coming. I greatly appreciate it, bro.
Dude, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Tell the viewers about who you are and where you come from and what you're all about.
Sure. So Andrew Bershtein, I own a small law firm, Bershtein Law. We cover the entirety of New Jersey and a good chunk of New York in regards to real estate transactions, trust and estates, and some select litigation matters. I've had the pleasure of working with Matt for a little bit here. We saw each other opposite for a little bit and turned out to align very nicely. So I've had the pleasure of working with him now and see what true professionals work like on both sides of the equation, which is awesome.
That's the goal.
Overall, our firm is volume on the subject of real estate. Obviously, that's what most of what Matt and I talk about. We are handling 400 to 600 transactions a year, regularly helping people buy and sell their homes, as well as enter into some more complex arrangements. But for the most part, I want to buy a house, I want to sell a house, I want to buy a commercial property, I want to sell a commercial property. Very straightforward type setup. Our differentiating factors, the things that we really pride ourselves on, we are very, very, very focused on keeping a process and understanding how things get from step A to step Z. And every step along the way, we're checking in, we're making sure that people understand how they're getting to where they're going, and obviously protecting them from themselves, as well as the other side. Mm-hmm. So our job is to interface formally with the other side. If we're the buy side, we interface with the seller's attorney. If we're sell side, we interface with the buyer's attorney. And we are the official communicators within the deal. Everything else that's going on is informal. Whatever we put in writing, that's what becomes legally binding. That's how it works. From the start of the process, we're arranging the contract. We're coming to terms in the agreement of how the deal is going to go. And then at each major step along the way, your inspections, your mortgage, your titles, your surveys, and your setup for your closing, we're the ones doing the official interface with the other side and organizing things on our side.
There you go. That's the long-winded answer. So let me ask you, Andrew, my first question for you is, how important is communication between, the real estate professional, the agent, the realtor, and the attorney while helping clients either buy or sell a piece of property?
So communication in any aspect of a transaction is always the most important thing. If everyone's on the same page, we can get to where we're going. If everybody's running in separate directions, we're never going to get there. Mm-hmm. Specifically between the attorney and the realtor, top priority. If we're not on the same page and we're not saying the same things, relaying the same message to our clients and to the other side, we're going to look like dopes. There's no way around it. So in order for us to be on the same page, we got to be in touch. Does that mean we need to talk 6 times a day every day? Not necessarily. Sometimes it's necessary. Right. It happens. We get those high pressure situations where everything is micro check-in. But for the most part, that's knowing how the other works and staying in communication. If we're on the same page blind, then when we're in touch directly, we know we're going to be on the same page. Everything gets relayed the right way. On top of that, repetition is the key to memory. As a result, over and over again, if I'm saying something, then you're saying it, then I say it the next time, you say it the next time, clients are getting hit with it a 2x. If our lender's on the same page as us, now they're getting hit with a 3x. And we drive the same message home, it's the best way to communicate information to the client.
Right. So if I'm hearing you right, for the nerd in me is going to say it this way. So it would be important if a real estate agent, right, which is typically the tip of a spear in any real estate transaction.
The QB.
Right?
No question.
It's important for him to build his Avengers, per se, right? You want to make sure we have the right attorney, we have the right lender, we have the right inspectors, and we have all the right title and insurance company people in place so that we can have a smooth transaction.
100%. And look, we have plug-and-play solutions. There are people who are at the top of their game who can work with anybody. And that's one of the fun things about transactions. We don't always know exactly who's on the other side. The smoothest transactions, the best one, is when everybody's on a text chain on the side being able to do everything they need to do. Mm-hmm. The hardest ones is when somebody's not communicating.
Sure. Now, my philosophy has always been, when it comes to negotiating a transaction, right, and you're dealing with the other side, I like to always be in a position where I'm putting the ball in the other party's court and being prepared on our end to no end. How do you feel about that?
So preparation is key. Anything that ever comes up, we have to know not only what it means, but how we're going to deal with it. So my firm specifically, and the way that I structure my business, is all about having a game plan for any situation.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have an internal document. We call it the situation sheet. Some people would call it the oh shit sheet, but that's a different conversation. We've basically documented, I think at this point, we're like north of 8,000 different things that could happen on a deal. And not only do we write out exactly what happens, we write out a legal analysis for what it means, and we write out sample emails and text messages to our clients, to our realtor partners, to the other side, so we already know how we're fielding this. If something comes up, oil tank, a very, very common issue that happens all over North Jersey. We were all on oil heat at some point before they ran the gas mains.
Right.
And now people abandon them because back then that's what we thought was okay. We bury it underground. It's not a problem anymore. Turns out they can still leak.
Right.
When they leak, they create contamination, really big issues. So how do I explain to a client who may not even know what an oil tank heating system is, that the previous owners had an oil tank, that oil tank is not just sitting, it was not removed, it's been sitting in the ground, and now we got to sit there, pull the thing out, find out if it contaminated the soils, take an X number of samples, have the contamination remediation levels at 1,000 parts per million, predicated on what the hydrocarbon content of those parts are. It's too much for the average person to know, and to retype and redo and reanalyze it each time is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So from our side, we prep everything up. We already know how to explain it because we've explained it before. And when we hit that new situation, I like to say 10,000 things can go wrong. I've been through 9,998 of them. But realistically, when we hit those new situations, that's where we have our industry contacts. That's where we have the other professionals in our field who we reach out to. All the guys at the top of the game know each other, and we're all in contact when things go wrong. Mm-hmm. So to that end, preparation, key to everything. Making sure we have everything set up in a positive way and know how to field it is the best. On a simple day-to-day, we're negotiating credit. Our clients want $15,000. The other side's only throwing us $12,000. We have our ways of negotiating those things, and we have perspectives to put them in. Those are the easy points. That doesn't mean they can't break a deal.
Right.
Those are the easy points. And then you and I are going to be on the side talking about, well, hey, listen, what's our max credit on this deal anyway? Have we touched base with the lender? Have we checked everything out to make sure that everything comes together when the time is right?
Right. So the preparation then leads to problem solving. The problem solving leads to solution, and then everybody can walk away happy.
God willing.
God willing, right? So since we're on the topic of preparation, Andrew, I'm going to shift here a little bit. A lot of buyers, a lot of sellers right now, there's a ton of uncertainty going on, right? We have what I call the real estate timeline, right? 90 days. So like we're in February right now, but in my mind, we're in May, right? Because everything takes anywhere between 45 and 90 days for a real estate transaction to complete itself. Sometimes we can do it faster, and sometimes, unfortunately, it takes a little bit longer, as you know, right? So what could anybody watching, if you're considering buying, if you're considering selling, what kind of preparation do you anticipate having these people look into in terms of their own equity, in terms of their financial wellness, and in terms of, even prepping a home or getting ready for a real estate transaction? How would you prepare or recommend preparing buyers and sellers going into the spring market?
So going into the spring market, you're going to see that boom in inventory. People have been sitting, they've been snowbirding, they've been hanging out, kind of standing back, waiting for the buyer pool to come back in full force.
Sure.
So you're going to see the boom in inventory. Boom in inventory is great for our buyers in that there's more things to look at. It's terrible for our buyers because everybody comes out of the woodwork. Now, open houses, you're not seeing, 2-3 families at a time. You're seeing 6-7 families at a time. Sure. So you're getting competition. Competition results in prices going up. That's standard financial. As far as your overall preparation, number one, dedicating yourself to what you're doing. A lot of looky-loos. You've got a lot of people who think, oh yeah, maybe I'll buy a house, or maybe I'll rent for another year, or maybe I'll figure it out. Maybe it's time to sell, I'm not sure. Those people are not the buyers who are going to succeed. And they're not the sellers who are going to succeed. Mm-hmm. Not because they're bad, not because they're bad people. It's because if you're not dedicated to something and the next guy is, you lose. Even if you're smarter, your house is better, you've got more money, if you're not dedicated to making it work, you're not going to succeed. So to me, it's all about preparation and a game plan. Mm-hmm. If you're buying your first house, what are you living now? You're living with your parents, it's easy. It's not a problem, things are simple. But if you're in a lease, you might want to take a look at how long that lease is still good for. Sure. Because getting out of those leases isn't always so easy. Mm-hmm. And my landlord-tenant counterparts will tell me, you can negotiate anything. Everything can be negotiated, which
Sure.
That's the right way to think of things. But the truth is that's a serious financial consideration. Because on top of a mortgage, having a rent payment is very expensive.
And if you have to break the lease, sometimes you have to pay to
Several
break
months.
that lease.
Yeah,
Exactly.
several months. And if you can't find a relet, you could be on the hook for it the whole time until the end of the lease. So setting that prep point, hey, how am I getting out? At the same time, you don't know when the buy is going to happen.
Sure.
So you still have to have a place to live. That's a really tough balance point. That's a really important conversation to have with you before we even get started. Number two, once you have your base logistics down, you got to have your lender on board. Money's got to come from
on both sides.
On both sides.
Whether you're buying or selling.
100%. Sellers got to know where they're going. And that's important. That's our first question. First conversation. Hey, Matt, you send me over a seller, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it's a pleasure to meet you. Before we talk about anything else, I don't like having homeless clients. What's the plan? Where are we going?
Exactly.
What are we doing? That's the first thing we talk about. So it's that logistic. From the seller side, it's on the back end. From the buyer side, it's on the front end. But you got to have that prep point. On the lending side, you got to know what you can afford. And more importantly, you have to understand what that payment looks like. Now, what a lender thinks you can afford, what you think you can afford, usually two very different things. Some people, very, very conservative. They think, oh yeah, they're okay with me spending 40% of my pre-tax salary, but I'm only okay at 30. Okay, that's okay. But then don't get your pre-approval for a sky-high number just to tell your agent, hey, I don't want to see anything in that range. Get everybody on that same page. Likewise, I know business owners, especially LLC owners like myself, we only think in pre-tax dollars. We forget that we got to pay taxes, and it's a normal thing for business owners to do. Yeah. Oh yeah, look at that, $75,000 bill out of nowhere. Whoopsies. So understanding that you have to be making those payments regularly. You have a seasonal business that moves up and down. You still got to make your payments every month for that mortgage. So understanding your finances, getting that in order, clinching tight with a good lender, and having that aspect of things prepared, top thing that you could do. And once that's in place, and you've got your agent who knows what you want, and you've got your plan how to move forward, from there, understanding the process. Now we're back into logistics, but now we're micro level logistics.
Right. We've gotten granular at this point. It's and I appreciate all that too, because that's how we look at it on the real estate side as well, right? You've had the luxury of participating in one of my, what I call operations plans, right? We sit down with buyers and we say, hey, I'm going to lay out all of our pieces on the chessboard, right? We understand that our rooks, our knights, our bishops, and everything that we do. And we almost pretty much play the game before we even play the game, right? And then the client has you'd agree, we see a lot of pressure get relieved once they have a very good understanding of what's happening. Now, right now, the market, as from what I'm seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing as well on your side as other transactions, believe it or not, Andrew does other deals outside of me, but otherwise he wouldn't live. So what we're seeing as well. What we're seeing is, last year, and I don't know if you know this, homes in the areas in which we serve, Morris County, Essex, Passaic, Bergen, Sussex, pretty much anything north of 78 has appreciated 11% in the last 12 months, which is astronomical given that since 2018 and beyond, we were seeing appreciations of 5 to 6%. I've had clients over the last 3 to 4 years buy with me, and while they were a little like, we're overpaying, or the rate is the rate, right? At this point in time, they're all giving me high praise and we're having great conversation because they're winning, right? They have equity that's in the home that's appreciated naturally, allowed them, we didn't grossly overpay for properties because we put good terms in our contracts. So now they had extra money to upgrade that mantle or put the new siding on the house, thus forcing appreciation in their homes. And believe it, some of these people are now coming back and are considering selling because of the amount of appreciation and equity that they're both forcing and naturally happening. So I guess what I find interesting is now, and you said you obviously run your own business, so you have your own law firm, right? And so what are some things that you do for your business that in order to take advantage of the ebbs and flows of an ever-changing market, right? How do you stay in the forefront of first off, how do you manage any sort of, I don't want to call it negative, but like any sort of downturn, like any sort of where, you guys are out there, you're trying to close deals for clients, you're trying to acquire new business, right? So how do you stay tactically sound, I'll call it, in front of mind in terms of prospecting new business and staying on top and getting return clients to come back to you?
So everything is metrics. Everything is process-based and metrics. At least for me, the way I look at everything is it's an equation. I have let's say 16 hours of the day that I dedicate to my business. Some days it's more, hopefully someday it'll be less. But for now, we're at 16 hours. I'm grinding out pretty much every day. And
I hear you.
you see the emails. They're nonstop.
Oh, yeah.
The phone calls are nonstop.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm grinding. Now, I have 16 hours to allocate. If I am in the summer months, we're in the summer, and for those who don't know, real estate market booms in the summer, tends to relax a little bit in the winter in New Jersey. So, and that doesn't mean deals aren't getting done in the winter. It doesn't mean that it's, you're guaranteed to get a deal in the summer. It just means generally the transaction volume is nearly double in the summer what it is in the winter. And that's just how many homes get sold throughout the entire summer. Naturally, in the summer, of those 16 hours, 14 of them are going to be dedicated to actual business. The work has to get done. Now, I'm fortunate, thank God, I have a team that supports me, and we work together, and they're phenomenal people, and they take care of things the way they need to be taken care of. So I can sit down and have a conversation with you and have a cup of coffee in the morning. It's not the end of the world. My clients are still getting what they need done. Thank God. Shout out to Tony and Max. They're the best.
They are.
They really are. But the truth is, when we get into the summer, all of a sudden we have twice as many emails that need to be answered, twice as many riders that need to go out, twice as many inspections to analyze. Right. We need additional manpower allocated to that. So we are running, I'll call it bi-weekly reports, so not every 2 weeks, but twice a week reports that are watching our pipeline very carefully. And we're seeing, realistically, knowing which stage of the deal everything is in, how many man hours are going to be allocated to working on those deals on average. Now, deal goes bad, something goes terrible, it doesn't matter how many deals you have, that's going to eat up half a day of a human being's time. We calculate for that. But we're sitting there and analyzing it, so I don't schedule non-business-based meetings, and business-based being loosely said, but I mean actually work getting done meetings in the summer pretty much at all. You're not going to see me out, you're not going to see me at drinks, you're not going to see me so much at business meetings, you're going to see me at closings.
Sure. And
we may go for a drink after a closing, we may hang out, but my time is allocated to moving things along the way they need to be moved.
Sure.
In the winter months, thank God, I have a little bit more availability. I get to sit down with you, we get to have a coffee, we hang out, we relax, we film more content, it's great. I don't believe that I'm serving my client's best interests by having a meeting like this in July.
No.
And I couldn't. And for my business, it's bad because if our turn times are worse or things aren't getting done the way they need to be or things are taking longer than they should, that's bad for business. That's bad for those future referrals, which is bad for the life of the company. So for me, it's knowing what's in your pipeline, knowing what time allocation is required to make that work, and then from there, turning that around and make sure I'm dedicating the resources I need to get that done. If one of my staff is out for a day, you may see me on a video camera for the closing sitting on a laptop instead of sitting next to the client. Why? Because that hour it takes me to drive to that closing, where normally I can allocate it and do calls during that time, I need to be actively doing something else for that hour back and forth drive. So all of a sudden I'm not physically there. I'm still there to take care of whatever needs to be done. Client still sees me. I'm still fully dedicated to the work. It's just no longer an in-person appearance. It's now a virtual.
Right. So you have to keep your pieces moving. You got to keep the motor moving. You got to keep it well lubricated. And
on average, 100 balls in the air at a time, and none of them are allowed to be dropped. That's why we have a team of jugglers.
Team of jugglers. I like that. So, and as you know, on our side, we work relentlessly as well.
Tirelessly.
This isn't my only business that I run, right? I have another endeavor. Shout out to my brother. And so with that, I'm also, I'm a husband and I'm a father of three. You're a husband and father as well. So I'm going to pivot here a little bit to the second part of what our channel likes to cover is I'm a very philosophical mind. So how does Andrew go about juggling, running a business, running a team of jugglers, and also dedicating time and being, a father and a husband?
Yeah. So the truth is, I fail every day,
fail forward though, right?
Fail forward and get back up and fail again tomorrow. It's difficult. At the end of the day, food has to be on the table. That's a number one priority for, I know, both of us as providers and kind of our mentality for how things need to get done. At the same time, your love, your support of your family is indispensable. It's a single, by the way, highest factor correlation of success in next generation is presence of parents in childhood life.
Yeah.
So for us, it's the most important thing we can do for our kids. And if we're not doing it for our kids, what are we doing it for? So to me, it's a lot of, again, scheduling, timing, and planning. So it happens to be, my father passed last year, a couple months ago, and my mother's obviously in bad shape as a result. And she's our primary pickup person. So she picks up my son from kindergarten every single day, 5 days a week. Right now, she went off to New Zealand and Australia for a month-and-a-half long cruise. She actually left last week on Sunday. So now,
God bless.
Yeah, it's amazing, and she needs it. And she needs it, and it's an important reset. And I'm actually really glad that she went. I was supporting her to go. I was pushing her to go. But now, someone's got to pick up James. You got to pick up the kid.
Right.
So I thank God it's the winter, so I have a little bit more availability. Otherwise, we may have to rely on other resources. My wife also works full time, very important position. She's high up with what she does. So it's not like we're all sitting around picking our noses.
Correct.
But I spoke to my team. I said, listen, guys, I need to pick up my son every day for the next month and a half. We got to allocate that time to it. So I'm no longer driving him in the mornings, which I used to do on a regular basis. Now my wife's driving him in the mornings. I'm logging into work an hour earlier so that I can take that hour to go pick him up, drive him to whatever the activity is. Mm-hmm. It's a plan. It's good. Dinner at night, no longer a guarantee. Right now, thank God, I'm able to take care of what needs to be taken care of. I do what I need to do, and I can sit down and eat that day with my family, which is beautiful. If this time period was just transported into the summer, most likely I'd be hiring someone or dealing with a carpool type situation to pick up my son. And I would most likely not be joining for dinner because I'd lock myself in the office for, an 8-hour stay afterwards and work until 2 because things need to get done. Right now I have that availability, I have that access. So thank God we do what we need to do. And then everything else is just prioritization. My son starts crying while I'm trying to have a business meeting. It's very, very difficult to say, hey guys, I'm so sorry, I got to take 5 minutes. And when my wife is there and she's handling things, everything is good, it's fine. But when my wife is stressed out, she had a bad day, she's got a call going on also, do what you got to do. His family is always number one.
Right. And I agree wholeheartedly. Family comes first. So what does Andrew do for Andrew, right? Like, so mindset's a big thing for me. I always say you got to have the mental and intestinal fortitude in order to, persevere and push on and run your own business. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand what that's required, and that's why 99% of businesses fail, right? And so what does Andrew do to keep his mindset in check, and how do you take care of yourself mentally in order to keep persevering, keep pushing, and keep building a legacy for your family?
Yeah, man, it's tough. It's a very good question. The truth is not enough, which is always the answer there. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of internal search. So finding your why, finding your driving factors, understanding what makes you wake up in the morning, because it's not money. Mm-hmm. Money's great and it's important, sure. But thank God I'm not at a point of starvation or food on the table questions. So why am I doing this? Why am I getting up? What's making this work for me? And the truth is, every day I have friends who I talk to, my colleagues at work, people on my team. I don't say they work for me, I say they work with me, and it's the truth because we collaborate. And I can't do what I do without them. They can't do what they do without me. We create our little family. And everybody I work with is a friend. They're a close personal friend who I've known for years. And we work together in a way that makes me happy because they don't have to worry about putting food on their plates. I've now expanded my family because I know that I'll do what I need to do to keep the shop open and the lights on. And they know that they're going to service that business to make sure we can all eat together. That's amazing to me. And one of the most insane things that came into my head is the amount of trust it takes to join somebody's company. Usually people don't think of jobs in that way because most people work for a company that is too big to fail or whatever it may be. As a small business owner, it's a little different.
Sure.
My people are trusting me for having created what I've done to continue to do what I do and to continue my relationships. That's not a responsibility to be taken lightly. So part of it is I wake up and I go to work and I grind and I do what I need to do to make sure that the people who count on me will get what they're expecting. And we try and do better and bigger and build up and grow and everything else. But at its core, we're never looking to expand past our confidence intervals of being able to take care of our people. And that entire structure, that idea of growing a family type business, and I'm not related to anybody who works with me, so I'm not saying that type of family business.
Sure.
But these people are my family.
It's tribal in a sense, is what you're saying, right? You're developing a tribe of people who have who believe in your vision, right? Have a like-minded vision, and you lead from the front, right? Like I always found it hard, especially the background I come from. Sometimes you run into folks who are in a position of leadership, and they're the guys that would tell you to run 10 miles, but they wouldn't run 10 miles themselves.
100%.
Right, and so. I'm lucky enough to have found mentorship and leadership where, shout out to my team leader, Glenn Baker, right? He's training for a marathon, right? Yeah, a little bit more than 10 miles. But, outside of that, you just take a look at the man and the person that's doing that, and you're saying, well, listen, like how could you not want to follow that, because he's doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, right? And that's kind of I guess that's the premise that I like to set forth for my team, my people, my tribe, my family, right? Even with our kids, I can't tell my kids to not raise their voice at their mother if you're raising your voice at their mother, right? If you
or
have
your own mother,
right, or your own mother, right? And you're not. You got to practice what you preach, I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say. So. I always like to end with a couple of quick fire questions in my interviews, which is good because it gets people getting to know Andrew a little bit more than outside of the attorney and the real estate attorney and the businessman. So, Andrew, favorite food?
Favorite food? Steak and mashed potatoes.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Ooh, used to always say History of the World Part 1 by Mel Brooks. Recently, for nostalgia purposes, I don't know why, Van Wilder keeps popping up in my mind. I love that movie.
But shout out Bert Kreischer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Favorite book?
Harry Potter series.
Okay.
A little escapism in that, and I love it. I don't know why, since I was a kid, it's always been my favorite. Business book would be a very different answer, but I'm sticking with my Harry Potter series.
That's okay. So give me your business book then.
So The Laws of Power.
Okay.
Which is a dangerous, scary, insane book. But when you read into it and you dig into it, you can really learn some core human principles, which I think dictate how the entire world works much better than any other book I've ever read.
Okay. If you were to follow somebody of personal development, let's say online, who do you like?
So I am in search of a mentor. It's funny.
Okay.
I've had attorneys who have been bosses that have become friends. I've had a lot of great business people in my life. I've never seen somebody doing things the way that I would do them, in a way that I feel like I follow them and this is my preacher type situation. I haven't discovered that yet. So no one at the moment, but actively searching.
I got some recommendations for you, so I'll make them to you. The last one. What's your favorite quote? Or let me ask you a better version of that. What is a quote that resonates greatly with you that you almost live by?
Got it. So there's a great Oscar Wilde quote, which is a mix of piety and game theory that I've always been a fan of. And it's been restated a bunch of times. But in short, there's this idea. It's not so much about what he says, about why he says it. He says, I'd rather live my life as though God exists to find out that he doesn't, than to live my life as though he doesn't to find out that he does. And there's something about religion in there that's not necessarily that close to my heart. There's something about piety in there that's not necessarily that close to my heart. But there is this idea of weighing, hedging, balancing, and understanding the odds of things and having that be a decision-based motivator, which to me is huge. I love that idea of you don't need to have a religious belief to want a belief in God. And it's not that I'm so religious. It's that, hey, if there is an existence of a higher overarching power, do you really want to piss it off? Or him off, or her off, or whatever you may believe in. So this isn't a religious quote to me.
Sure.
This is just a mentality, rationale, calculation quote. And when I sit there and look at it and dig into it, there are so many things that we need to actively balance and make our decisions based off of. Exigencies, percentages, valuations. Like, we're always sitting calculating, figuring out odds, right? And that doesn't mean percentages or bets, but it does mean we're always wondering what the likelihoods are.
Sure.
And when you start analyzing likelihoods for avoiding worst case scenarios and permanently hedging, you can never take risk and you can never succeed. At the same time, if you undervalue those possibilities, you can end up failing in gigantic ways and find complete ruin. Finding the balance between those, understanding the balance between those, to me, is the key to everything. That includes life, that includes love, that's marriage, that's work, that's business, that's religion, that's everything. And there's something about keeping in mind those values and keeping yourself humble that in that quote really inspires me.
Awesome, man. Well, there you have it, guys. I appreciate everybody's time for stopping by the channel. What did we figure out today? Well, Appreciation is high, completely unstable, but definitely you want to take advantage of it. If you're looking to sell, you're going to want to get in touch with me, and most likely you'll be in touch with him if we're working together. If you're looking to buy, now's a good time too, right? Rates aren't out of control. If we're at 7% and it goes to 11, you look good. And if you're at 7 and it goes to 5, we just refinance and we start over. So if you're thinking about it, now's a good time. You'd agree, now's a good time to start considering it and getting your ducks lined up if you're even thinking about it.
The only bad time to do it is later.
Exactly.
The truth of the matter is, real estate goes.
Best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The
Absolutely.
second best time is today.
Exactly
So,
right.
thank you everybody for stopping by and checking out. Andrew, thank you again. I appreciate your time, brother.
brother.
And we'll catch you on the next one. Be well.
Take it easy, everyone.